everybody. Welcome to another episode of Picture Shows and Petticoats. It's me, Elizabeth, and this week, special guest, because Misty had a baby.
Yay, Misty
And
had a baby.
yeah, and Misty's going to get a week off. I have my dear friend, Ollie, here with us. Hi,
Hello.
Ollie.
Hello. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's a lovely, drizzly, cold day here.
It's a lovely, drizzly Scottish day. Let's just pretend.
Yeah, if I squint and don't look too closely outside, I can totally pretend that I'm in Scotland right now.
If you look at the molehill in your backyard,
Yeah,
it totally looks like the same thing.
yeah, really. I just need a little more fog. You know, sometimes when it's foggy here, it really could pass.
As long as you squint.
Yeah. So, thank you for doing this with me.
You're welcome. Thank you for asking me.
Yeah. I don't actually, you are special to me. I just don't actually know that many people who are watching the show. So,
Which is weird because it
yeah.
seems like there are a lot of people from, if you look at the tweets and the community talking about it, it
Mhm.
seems like there are a lot of people and they're putting out a lot of information. Even on their YouTube, I think they have like 55 um, videos up there. So
Yeah.
it's not like they're not advertising, but it's just weird that you don't, between you and me,
Mhm.
I think we're the only ones that I know of that are actually watching it. And
Yeah,
I
I have a couple other friends, but I mean, I have more than a couple other friends, but I have a couple other friends that are watching this show, but um yeah, I mean, they're just not people who are like massively into it on Twitter and stuff. And
and
go
that
ahead.
may be because it's on the pay channel. Isn't it
Yeah.
like $10 a month or something like that?
It's
Or
like 15. It's 15 on Cox. So,
so?
Cox Communications. Ugh.
Boo. Whatever.
I know.
They're just like, you want to watch this show with men in skirts?
Yeah.
Give me money.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. What?
Yeah.
Men's skirts? Here, take all my money.
Yeah. So I just have to switch between that. Like, I think I may have been like penalized for shutting off my HBO. I need to check that. So, like, how am I supposed to juggle all of these TV shows and still? I'm gonna have to get an extra job or something. Hmm.
I can see that. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. And they're like, welcome to McDonald's. May I take your order? And you'll be like, look, I'm just trying to watch some TV.
That's all.
If you could hurry up with your order now.
Oh goodness. All right. So we're here to talk Outlander, and
Outlander.
you have well, okay, it's going to be different this week because Misty and I both come to the show with the perspective of a book reader.
Exactly. And
And
I have only read maybe the first chapter. I think I've only read the first chapter, and that's it. So my perspective is totally different from yours. What I see, I don't know anything that's coming. I don't know what to expect. I
yeah,
just a viewer.
and I love that. I love that because I think Misty and I can kind of get tunneled into this. Oh, I can't wait for 2 weeks from now when such and such happens, and it's going to be great. Which, by the way, 2 weeks from now is going to be actually it's a week from tomorrow.
Uh-huh.
So mark your calendar, September 20th. It's going to be amazing.
Okay, and if it's not amazing, I'm going to be really upset.
Oh, it'll be fine. It'll be good. You'll be thanking me for this.
Okay. I'll
Um,
remember that.
okay, so this past week, the episode is entitled Rent. And we knew that Dougal and his crew of merry men were going to set out on the road to go collect rent for the Mackenzie clan.
Right. And they're taking Claire, which from let me just say, from my point of view, I thought he was taking her because he had a little thing for her. that was from the last episode
Hmm.
to this episode. My perspective was like, oh, I think he kind of likes her. But after watching the episode, I'm like, guess not.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of hard to read Dougal. He's really mysterious, and he just kind of looks at people with these long, knowing, you know,
Yes, he can
this
look at me like that
gaze.
all he wants.
I know. Uh,
I'm
you
I'm
you
so
have feelings.
Yes, I am total fangirl of his now. I'm just totally in love with Graham McTavish, and he can look at me all he wants like that and get mad at me and say whatever he wants in Gaelic. I don't care.
I think you guys are like the same age.
He's he's
Is
younger
he?
than no,
He's
he's
younger
older
than
than
you?
I am. He's
Oh,
older
okay.
than I am by a couple years.
Okay.
Yeah. Oops.
I think he looks a lot older than he is, but
He, I thought he would be a little bit younger,
hmm
but his picture on Twitter, he
hmm
looks older than his age, well, at least to me.
when
Which
he
is
doesn't have the beard, he looks a lot younger.
he does look a lot younger. I'm kind of floored at the fact that he has all these Twitter followers, but
Hmm.
then like his last maybe was it his last tweet or something? He doesn't really have that many retweets and stuff like that, which I thought was weird.
Hey, when are you gonna get on Twitter?
Never. Nobody
No,
nobody cares what I have to say.
I think you need to be on Twitter.
Okay, when you think of a good Twitter name for me, I'll get on Twitter. How's that?
Okay, I will think of something.
You think of something.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, so we open this episode, this gorgeous view out over this lake,
Right.
and Claire is reciting a John Donne poem,
Yes.
which it would have been helpful for me to have actually looked up the
They
title.
they actually only recite the first verse of it.
Yes.
There's 5 verses in it. I looked it up, but I not sure the exact title because every where I looked up,
Hmm.
it had like something different. But
Hmm.
they actually just recite. I know it has 5 verses, and they only recited the first verse. It's a very beautiful poem, though.
Yeah, and I did a little bit of research about it, and I guess in the modern age, they're not entirely sure if John Donne actually wrote this poem. It possibly was somebody else's, and it's just been attributed to him. But
Right.
man, ugh, please don't ever let that happen to me. Like 300 years from now, I don't want somebody to find my life journal and be like, no, that's actually somebody else's.
She just
Um,
kind of wrote it in the side note.
yeah, yeah. Okay, the title here, I believe, is That Time and Absence Proves Rather Helps Than Hurts to Loves. It's kind of a long, weird
That's the whole
title.
title?
I guess so.
Wow.
Okay, I'll read the little bit that Claire said because you just did the first
Yes.
verse, right? Okay.
Yes.
Absence, hear thou my protestation against thy strength, distance, and length. Do what thou canst for alteration, for hearts of truest metal. Absence doth join, and time doth settle. And I don't know about you, but do you like keep reciting a poem when somebody comes up beside you and starts reciting it along with you?
I would have looked at him like, okay.
You're like,
Um,
this is like my private moment.
yeah, I'm having a moment here and you're ruining it.
Yeah.
And the other thing was, she didn't even really know him,
Mm-hmm.
right? She didn't really know him. But I have to say, this opening scene, one of the first things I wrote down in my notes was, she looks fantastic.
Does she not? It was.
Her hair and everything, her clothing, the whole ensemble. And I'm thinking, for hanging out with a bunch of guys on the road, girl, you look good.
Yeah, I tweeted something like the air like out on the road that's the road's done some wonders for her hair.
Her, it's like costume people, you need to tone it down just a bit. She's supposed to, I mean, do you look like that when you go out camping or biking or whatever?
Yeah. Hello.
Look like that all the time. That's the first thing I thought was we're putting a little too much money into costume and hair and
Well, and it
makeup.
gets a little bit worse later on in this episode where
Yes.
they've had like what was clearly kind of a traumatic night, and
Yes.
she gets up the next morning and she's fixing up her horse, and her curls are so tight. They're like she has just ironed her hair, which she doesn't do.
Right.
But yeah, it was pretty bad. Um, so anyway, this guy that walks up, this is Ned Gowan, who we
Ned
find
Gowan,
out is the attorney. Um,
the only one that Dougal trusts with his money, and he's there
mhm.
to help with records and receipts.
Yeah.
And he's got a bit of a little phlegm going on there. He's got a little bit of cough.
Yeah, he's really having some trouble, but Claire to the rescue.
Of course, with her
Uh, she thinks he has asthma, so she grabs up some little weed and
some thorn
not
apple.
weed, but
No,
like
Jimson weed is what you said it
yes,
was.
yeah,
Right. Eh,
and packs that in his pipe. Yeah,
right.
tells him to smoke it.
Smoke it. Take this, stick that in your pipe and smoke it.
Exactly.
And he thinks that's a little odd for his condition, which I mean, at the time I'm sure it was. Who's going to smoke something when you can, when you've got all that coughing going on?
I don't know. Would they have thought that was odd to smoke for coughing in 1743? I kind of think they were still in the thought of smoking helps you. Like if you
Right.
got a
Well,
cough.
I mean, I think the reason why she thought right away it was asthma was because he said it happens in the same season and it's
Hmm.
always in the woods
Yeah.
at the same time every year.
And that cold doesn't help. That
Right.
cold and
Right.
asthmatic. Yeah. So they become fast friends, really.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah,
Wasn't
so
it me?
she mentions that she had seen him in the hall, which is cool because we hadn't, as far as I know.
Yeah,
But
I don't remember seeing him at all.
no. But he's come from Edinburgh. He was educated at the university down there, but
Right.
he has a heart for adventure and he wanted to
Yes.
come up to the Highlands and I guess find adventure in the Highlands.
And she calls him a man of law and a soul of a romantic. I'm
Mm,
thinking, you've known him 2 minutes and you know that? Wow, girl, you
yeah.
are good.
I had trouble figuring out exactly how long they'd been on the road whenever this
Happen.
episode. Yeah. I mean, would you have not have already like it looks like you're in a party of maybe 12 people?
Right.
Have you not talked to each other yet at all? But
Well, the other thing was that it wasn't they were just setting out.
mhm.
So, but it seemed like it was the first time she had met him. So she had seen him once. So maybe they were on the road a day or two. Maybe.
Yeah.
That's the inference I'm getting.
It's weird storytelling stuff that
Yeah.
probably somebody should have paid more attention to, but whatever.
Speaking of storytelling, the
Uh,
next
yeah.
scene, the next scene where they're around the campfire
I call this
and
doodles. Dougal's dirty jokes, which I think
oh,
should be like a regular part of the show.
I thought that was great. I
Yeah.
was laughing. So, I mean, it's nothing you could say, but
What was I don't even remember what it was now, actually. I mean he's talking about
he was talking about a guy who had met a woman and how she had said, how did you like me when you first saw me? And he said
yeah.
something about, yeah, I don't think I can repeat that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I gave all the instructions before this to maybe keep it PG-13 because you live a rated R life.
I, I do. Well, I think it was that Marine Corps still coming out of me, still trying to spit it out of the back of my head.
Oh, goodness gracious.
But
Well, anyway, it was a hilarious joke,
it was.
and it's totally dirty, and I guess that's just that. I mean, it's all these guys just wandering around together. It's like locker room talk. So,
Exactly. Very
mhm.
locker room talk. And then they started, was it then that they started talking Gaelic
Yeah,
to
yeah.
exclude
Oh,
her?
we have to say Gallic.
Gallic. Okay.
Yeah,
I never, Gallic.
yeah.
There we go. I was
They're
like,
two different things,
I'm sorry.
spelled the same way. But yeah, so they're talking. They're speaking in another language, and she
Right.
feels they're excluding her on purpose,
Right.
and they are because I think that part of the time they're talking about her.
Yes, because they're looking at her when they're talking. I mean,
Uh-huh.
it's not like when they were telling the story, the manly man stories, they're all looking at each other, but you can tell when they're talking about her because then they glance over at her
Yeah.
and she's just looking at this gets me. Her character, she's trying to be liked by them and earn their trust, but then she's shooting darts at them.
Hmm.
Because she's sitting under the tree and she's shooting darts at them. And I understand that you're upset and maybe, that's the direction you're trying to go because you want the actress to, look. But I in and I guess in the book that's how it is. But to me, if she's trying to be loved by these characters or more liked, more approachable, more, I don't know, um, trustworthy to them, you would think she would try to buddy it up a little bit more and loosen, tone down the I'm killing you with my eyes thing.
Yeah, I feel like TV Claire is not quite as I don't her skills at figuring out how she needs to treat people
Mm,
just to get by to get to the point where she could possibly escape. I feel
right.
like her skill at that in the book is better than it is in the TV show. Um, but I don't know. I mean, maybe it is different. They're doing things differently. So okay, I just have a note right here, and we kind of talked about how good she looks on the road, but
Right.
did she look different to you? Because something about her looked different to me in this entire episode. In the
She
face,
to me
something looks softer.
to me they look if you look back at the first episode, it looks like they trimmed her hair up
Hmm.
a bit. They trimmed her hair. They made it just a bit shorter, and they gave her some blush. Before she just kind of looked like, just a regular kind of pale
Hmm.
face, like she didn't really have any makeup on. But they looked like they gave her some soft makeup. Maybe it was just me seeing things. But that's the way I perceived her. She just looked like she had on a little, like I said, they spent a little bit more money on hair and makeup.
Hmm.
She really looked like they had softened her, which when you're on the road just doesn't fit. It's like they should have done that before or maybe after.
Well, maybe she's gotten some sun on the road. Maybe I thought it looked like somebody had fed her a sandwich or two. Like
Really?
yeah,
She
I don't know.
didn't.
I mean, not in a like truly, noticeable way, but just a little
Right.
bit. Something was different. All right. So we come to well, I forgot.
Yeah.
Jamie does try to comfort her.
Yeah. Because she says they hate me,
Yeah.
and he said no, they just don't trust you.
Hmm.
So yeah. And it's funny that after that he says, they get into the conversation. He says, I know you tried to run during the gathering. It's on your mind, and it's plain and clear. So if it's plain and clear to him, would it not be plain and clear to everyone else? I was
I don't
wondering
know.
that.
Maybe he can see into the depths of her soul.
Isn't he supposed to, right?
Oh yeah. Hmm. Yeah. So, all right. Jamie comforts Claire, but then we see our first uh, incidents. We have a number of these scenes throughout this episode where they are collecting rent from different villages,
Right. The first
and
one.
I don't even know if you can call them villages. They're kind of just small groups of homes that seem to kind of work and live together. These families, but
Right. And
um,
I
we get
love
our first look. Oh, go ahead. What?
I was gonna say I love how Ned had said specifically, he explicit instructions not to accept live pigs.
Yes.
And in the first place, what do we get? We get two fat pigs and a fine goat.
Hmm.
I love that. And a fine goat. I wonder if he wrote that in the book. A
Oh,
fine
I'm
goat.
sure. I am sure. Um, yeah, so Ned kind of has a soft heart. He's not going to turn down someone's pig. That's all they have to give. And we also see him tuck some money away in a second bag.
Right. That
Hmm.
that was interesting. And again, with the Claire getting her, I want to say her hair in a tizzy or whatever.
Hmm.
She just she assumes so much, and again, I haven't read the book, and to watch her get all riled up, knowing that do you understand the time period you're in? Are you forgetting where you are? And
I
I think a lot of it is she does forget where she is. At least I hope she is, because that,
Yeah,
I,
I have this a similar note later on about that I get so irritated with that in the character. I don't remember if it was actually different in the book. I don't remember being so upset about it in the book, so it must have been
mhm,
a little bit different. I feel like she is constantly forgetting where she is, or is trying to, um,
irritate the viewers.
well, she's trying to put in her 20th century views,
Right,
which I think are even progressive for the time that she lives in,
right, true.
and is trying to bring them to Scotland in 1743, and it doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense, especially in the story. I'm surprised that no one has yelled at her, no one has slapped her. I mean,
Oh, hey, we're
I'm
getting
not,
there.
I'm not saying that that I want men to slap women or beat them up. I'm just saying in that time period when women were thought of as, basically ornaments and baby makers, uh, get in the kitchen, that she would be able to say these things,
Hmm.
to, have such an opinion and no one think anything of it. Well, it's not that they don't think anything of it, they just let her do it because she's done
So
it more than
you're
once.
saying you think, to be more accurate, this show needs more corporal punishment.
I don't know that it's corporal punishment, just she needs I
Ollie,
guess I'm surprised.
hold that thought.
Okay.
Just wait. I'm just wait. Just
Sorry.
um. So after she makes all these judgments and decides she knows exactly what's up, because she has all this, info to go on,
Right.
she decides to wander off, and she hears this singing in the distance, and
Mhm.
meets the women of the village,
Mhm.
who are setting the dye in their wool with hot pea.
Yummy. I mean,
Ugh,
okay.
ugh.
And yes, I mean,
There's a reason God had me be born in this time and not that time. No matter what I think about costumes and how cool it would be to wear a dress like that. No. Uh,
the layers though.
oh, the layers.
So many.
So many layers. So many layers. So they do they sing this song while they're working, and they're
Right.
slapping this wool around,
Yes,
and
they are.
there's pee going everywhere.
And they're pushing it off the table as they're
Oh, and
doing
it's
that.
getting all over their dresses.
Yes! All over their wrists, all over their hands, all over their dresses. And but they're singing the song and they're doing it and she joins in and they seem to be having a good time.
Yeah.
And then after they finish, they have a nice drink.
Yeah, which is apparently pretty strong. And don't tell the menfolk about it, because that's their
Right.
little secret. It's a little
And
home brew.
right. And then she says bottoms up and they're all like, "What?
What does that mean?
What does that mean? Are you speaking English right now?"
Yeah. Um, and so then Claire finds out that it's, oh well, she does find out that there's a baby in this room. It is
Right.
crying. It is hungry, and it's teething, and it won't nurse, and they had to give away their goat, so they have no milk for their baby.
Right.
Yeah.
And in between the baby, she's doing a little recon because she wants to know how close Craig Nadoon is, you
Hmm.
know. And I like the one lady says, "Oh, that's where the fairies live."
Hmm.
Fairies? What
Yeah.
fairies? Oh. And she asks if it's nearby, and I love the way they describe it. It's 3 days as the crow flies,
Hmm.
which is closer than I guess 5 miles from Pemberley. Uh,
Is it closer?
No,
Three?
I'm
Well,
just kidding. That's
no.
what it says. I just when they were talking about because she keeps asking how close is this, how close is that.
Uh-huh.
It reminded me of Pride and Prejudice when
Yeah.
they keep saying, "Oh, it's 5 miles from Pemberley."
Yeah.
Every like I don't know how many times they said that, and she always keeps asking how close is it, but they did say it's 3 days as the crow flies, and I wonder how long is that? Three
Okay, I'm
days
just
as
gonna
the crow.
guess. I don't know how far is the crow flying the entire time?
That's what I wanted to know.
Like, are we walking
I
like
wish
24 hours a day to get there?
I don't know. That but that was interesting. But so then they tell her while we're in this tent, which
Hmm.
this is what it's for, you have what goes down must come out.
Hmm.
So here's a bucket. Feel
It's
free.
your turn.
It's your turn.
Hmm.
And just as she's getting ready to relieve herself in the bucket,
Hmm.
Angus busts in.
But what did she say as she's about to go?
What did she say?
Geronimo! Hey, Claire, you really gotta tone this down. He hasn't
All
been
her
born yet, and you're gonna like Back to the Future this thing so bad.
and they're all looking at her weird again.
Yeah,
Like,
like
what
what
are you
language is this
talking
crazy girl speaking? Yeah, and then Angus busts in. He's like, "Oh, good, he's like, it must smell like pee in there. Oh my goodness,
Yes,
must it smell like pee in there?"
yes,
This is such a
all of them.
pee-centric episode. Um,
I love.
so
So
yeah,
he goes and takes her, and he's
mm-hmm.
mad because she just wandered off. Which I'm thinking, shouldn't she be watched closer if you know she wants to leave? I mean, isn't that the purpose why you took her? So she
Yeah.
would wander off, but no one's watching her. Okay, so she busts away. They go, and he gets her, and I love what he says to her, "You've been drinking, and you smell like piss." And then she says, "Well, that's the pot calling the kettle black,"
Oh
which cracked me up so hard.
goodness, I know. And then he like snaps at her, like, "Come on, we're going."
Exactly. And then she gets mad at him, and I'm gonna
Oh,
guess that's the liquor talking. And she's like, "Get your hands off me."
ugh.
And then she sees the goat tied to the wagon, and tries to take the goat.
She's like,
She's
"I'm
like,
just gonna take this back. It's their
"Yeah,
goat, and this baby's gonna go hungry, and I'm from the 20th century, and I'm gonna fix this."
I'm gonna." And Dougal's like, "Where'd you find her?"
Mm.
And he's telling her, and I mean, she literally, this again, she confronts a man in front of all these people,
Yeah,
and it's
it's like,
not
how has she not been slapped across the face? Yeah.
exactly, and it's not, it's not any guy. I mean, for all intents and purposes, he's the head of the house where they are.
Mm-hmm.
And for her to talk like that to him in front of everyone, I mean, these are part of the family. This is the clan.
Yep.
And that's why I'm really just amazed that,
I think he gets away with that right there by like turning to the crowd because I think otherwise, yes, he would have been expected to actually slap her or something. Um, I think he turns and he explains, she's this Sassenach, she's drunk and she's
right? And they
yeah.
all laugh at her, and but he
Hmm.
said it in Gaelic, so
Hmm.
she has no idea what he said, and they all laugh at her, and which I mean, really makes her mad. And then out of nowhere, here comes an Englishman with an apron on.
Yeah, like what does he say? Like he basically says, my lady, do you need assistance or something like
Right.
that?
He says, "Madam, is everything all right?"
Yes.
And I'm like, and when he started talking, I was like, "Uh-oh, this is not
Oh,
good."
and like immediately, I don't know about you, but I've been so like my ears been tuned to hearing this other accent that suddenly hearing this very English accent was like, oh, what, who is this? What are you doing?
I was, well,
Um,
and when he started talking, I was like, "Uh-oh, this is gonna be bad. This is good." Because, again,
mhm.
I don't know what's coming. And I was like thinking, there's just one, there's got to be more of them.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And it really,
It's like termites.
and then, there's that whole tension
Yeah.
with him and Angus and Dougal and the whole, she's none of your business. She's Clan Mackenzie, and he's like, Well, I was speaking to the lady, and I'm thinking, everyone's kind of grabbing at their swords, and
Mm.
this could have been really bad. But
It's so funny to me how, and I know that this happened first, but when you see like gangsters now and like in like a movie, it's like they'll all kind of like lift up their shirt just to let
right,
everybody know
right,
that they're packing, and
right.
and these guys do the same thing. It's like I got a sword right here.
I have a sword right here, and I'm not afraid to use it.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
so then after that, after the whole confrontation ends, he goes back to the barn where he was working, and he puts on his red coat.
Hmm.
And I'm thinking, he's gonna go off and get more. There's more somewhere.
Yeah. Now I feel like there was something missing here. Like I don't expect we don't have to have this whole story or anything, but that to me says somebody there is in cahoots with the British.
Well, the other thing was that I was like, there's one British man, and there's all these clansmen, or
Uh-huh.
the family, and how is it that he just walks into where they are, he's doing whatever, and everyone's kind of not like staring him down?
Yeah.
I thought it was a little weird.
I don't know. It was weird to me too. And then I'm also confused because it seemed like they were packing up to leave this village, and I may have missed
Right,
a transition here, but then they're immediately at their we see Dougal giving his first nighttime drinking speech where he,
right,
he gets a village together, everybody's gathered to have a drink, and then he gives this rousing speech.
right. And and during that rousing speech, he rips off Jamie's shirt and oh,
Hmm.
yuck. And then all of a sudden, he the what's his name, Ned, puts out like a little bag, and all of a sudden coins are getting dropped into the bag.
Yep.
And at the end of it, Ned says that they collected a respectable sum.
Yeah. For it being such a small place. Yeah.
Right. And then he throws Jamie's shirt at Claire and is like, "Here, take care of that." You
She's not
that
having that. She's
she's
not
not
doing it.
having that, right? That cracked me up. He's like, "Well, I'm not bloody doing it."
Yeah. Well, and then she finally, I guess decides, well, if it's between him going, wearing rags, which is what
Right,
what Dougal says he can do.
right,
Um, and, she says, okay, well, I'll fix it, fine. But then, oh, poor Jamie
he just
hops up and he like takes the shirt away from him. He's like, I'll mend my own shirt. Walks
right.
off. Oh, Jamie.
I have to say that when Dougal first started talking the Gaelic, that if he had said it a little bit slower and whispered it, I almost got a Harry Potter vibe off.
Yeah.
It's probably just me, but that's what I was thinking when he started talking. But I love that how passionate the speech was.
Hmm.
And at first I was like, "Oh, this is a great scene. He's so passionate about it." But then when he sat down and he's like, "Yeah, I'm not sewing that." It kind of it shows how good of an actor he is because it showed how his character was literally acting,
Hmm.
and I was just like, I love him more. So,
Oh, yes. So I think it's the next day, and
right.
Claire spends a lot of her time apparently down by the river. Whenever that's what she does, is hangs out down by the river whenever they're stopped
Maybe
somewhere.
she lives in a van down by the
Maybe,
river.
maybe she does, wearing a tight jacket. Um, I wonder. No one will even know what that. Yeah, some people will. Um,
But so Ned comes up with the black pudding. I had to look up black pudding because I was like,
oof.
what is it that they're eating?
Yeah.
And apparently it is a sausage blend of pork blood, oatmeal, and barley,
Yeah.
flavored with pennyroyal, and it's eaten cold, but it's usually fried or grilled,
Yeah.
which is kind of weird that it's fried or grilled, but it's eaten cold.
Yeah.
So you fry it or grill it, and then you wait for it to get cold, and then you eat it.
Yeah, I avoided that while I was over there. I didn't
Did
have any
you?
of that. Yeah. I didn't want to risk. I mean, I'm sure it's safe and fine, but whenever you're not used to a certain kind of food,
Right.
no, thank you. Um, no. And I think we actually have it in our grocery store.
Really?
Yeah, the one just north of my house. I think I saw it there. Um, yeah. So she thinks she's got it all figured out, and
She thinks she does.
she's just laying out her argument to Ned, and he compliments her because she's pretty good at what she's doing, and at making her case. And he says it's a pity they don't allow women to practice law.
And she says, yet.
Mhm.
And he's like, well, maybe in a few centuries. And what did she say?
Only two.
Two.
Yeah.
Which I thought was funny. And of course, then there's my man, Dougal. There he is. Did you see him? Oh
He's
my
like
God.
looking.
He's like
He's
looking at her intensely, like he wants to hurt her. Like, don't mess with my plan.
yeah.
But I'm thinking,
And she
here,
says in her voiceover, I felt as if Dougal could read my mind. I
right,
think so. I think he's like, actually, that stare is like in your brain.
right. And then she said, I think it's like he's daring me to run. And I'm gonna guess the reason that was said was like so he could, you know, uh, punish her. Because that's
I
almost like the feel I get when he's looking at her, like he wants to put her in her place, but he's just waiting for the right moment.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just me.
No, I can see that. I can see that if he's got a good reason to do that, I think he probably would. Well, we have another scene of them riding along on the road, and
The
they actually.
cinematography.
Oh, it's so
The
beautiful.
cinematography is so wow. It's just gorgeous.
It is
Gorgeous shots.
absolutely beautiful. And then they say, well, she says, Claire in her voiceover, and I'm
Mm.
really confusing my dog because she's in the room, and I keep saying Claire, and that is her name. She keeps looking at me like, what?
I love it.
I know. She says days passed, turning into weeks. So this is
Right.
one of our markers that we find out they've been on the road for weeks now. So that's a good thing to know for later if we go, wait, how is all of this, when you start worrying about how long people have actually known each other, you have to remember that they've had this day-to-day interaction for, let's say, 3 weeks.
At least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dougal continues to give his speeches at night whenever they're in a village,
Mm-hmm.
just raking in the dough.
Raking in the dough. Getting some cash. It's all
Yeah.
good.
And then they come upon this burned out farm, and they tell Claire that it's the watch.
The watch.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I look down at my wrist.
hmm
Wow, that's a good watch.
Yeah.
But
These
they
are the
say,
guys.
right,
They're
they had to explain it to
Scotsmen.
her.
Yeah, who they're like local people who are paid to protect the cattle because
And
if
then
you don't pay them, they will take the cattle.
right, and then she says extortionist.
Yeah. Yeah. We know, Claire. It's cool.
We got it. We got the attitude. Thank you.
And so they go ahead and they collect from these people who've just had their farm burned to the ground.
And while they're doing that, Jamie disappears.
hmm
And of course, Dougal's taking his cut
Yep.
because that's what you do. And Claire again with her snarky attitude, what'd she say? I suppose that's patriotism too.
hmm
And Ned says, no, that's business.
Yeah. Let's keep it straight.
Let's keep it straight. Exactly.
Well, and Jamie has to make himself scarce because the watch, if they know that he's wanted, they'll take him and they'll turn him in.
Because money is money.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just how it is.
Yeah. It's business.
Business.
So then we have a scene. They're all sitting around the fire.
More
They're
camping.
eating, I believe, probably the turkeys or whatever those were that they just.
I thought it was a chicken. I didn't
Was
know.
it? It was a really
Yeah,
big
it looked.
chicken.
Well, then it was a really small turkey when it was
Okay.
roasting.
Okay. Well. Yeah, you're probably right. So they're having this food, and oh
Telling
my
more
god,
man stories.
more man
I
stories.
love the man stories. They're hilarious. The
Oh,
exaggeration.
I don't even remember what the stories were right here.
He was Angus was talking about some woman that he had met and how she was going to be walking bow-legged for months.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. Oh goodness, Angus. Um, but Claire has to pipe in that she won't eat stolen food and she won't sit with thieves.
Right.
Honey, these are the
I
you. What are you doing?
what'd she say? She says, I have no stomach for stolen food.
Yeah.
I don't sit with these. And Angus is like, please yourself. And then, but I mean, how can you say that to these men that you've been on the road with? And in in the voiceover when they were showing the hillsides, she had said that Dougal had brought me on this trip because I earned his respect as a healer and some measure of trust. She is ruining that trust with her bad attitude.
Yeah.
She's pushing them farther away from actually wanting to help her or trust her because her attitude is so bad.
Yeah, and I think the character is smarter than that, and
Right.
because of that, I feel like some of the decisions that she is making don't make sense.
Exactly.
And that's just the
It's
writing. That has nothing to do with the actress, because you may still have qualms about how she plays the part or whatever,
yeah,
but I think that what she's, working with what she's been given, so weird character choices,
right,
that's totally in the writing.
right.
Um, and I do think that there's some real problems with some things here that don't, they're just
Makes
not
sense.
consistent.
Yes, they need someone to work on the continuity of the script
Yeah,
because it's kind of driving me crazy
I know.
the way she brings her attitude in and that I mean, she's sitting with all these guys. Again, no one's yelled at her. Oh well, I take that back because Angus did pull his knife on her and he said that he would not be judged by an English. I didn't get that last word, but I think I know what it was.
Uh, Probably something bad. Yeah,
Yeah. And Jamie had to intervene and say, if she doesn't want it, that's just more for us.
yeah.
But the stare and the tension and yeah, it just, and then she gives a, excuse me, and she takes off, you know, and more towards back to the water.
It always goes back to the water.
We're always in the water.
Yeah. And then Jamie comforts her again, right?
Well,
Doesn't
I
he?
think he confronts her. He's like, what's gotten into you? Why would you talk to Angus that way?
Hmm.
And she said, Angus can kiss my English
Yeah,
behind.
yeah.
And Jamie said, well, those are fighting words. And she says, well, where I come from. And he says, it doesn't matter where you come from. You're here. And thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Jamie, for saying that. Because why do you keep forgetting where you are? You're there. There's nothing, so far, there's nothing you found that you can do. You just have to accept that and try to, she said herself, live within this, where she is
Yeah.
and get along with it. And then she gets, but again, she gets snarky. Is she just supposed to stand by and watch? And he said, you're not to judge things you don't know and stay out of it. Which is true. She thinks she knows these things. She's making assumptions and she honestly has no idea what she's talking about.
Yep.
Drives me cuckoo.
I know. I know. Oh, so what do we have next? What happened after that?
We
Oh
moved to
yeah.
a new village.
Yeah, we're at a new village,
Very poor one.
very poor,
Yeah.
and uh, my notes aren't as extensive right here, but basically no one has very much to give, and then the final man who,
Gentleman. Yeah.
yeah, who walks up with his son says, I've always been, you know, I've
Do
always paid.
right. Dougal said, "You come to me with empty pockets. What's going on?"
Yeah.
And he told him that exactly what you said, that he'd always paid and he'd always given his, his money to the Clan Mackenzie, but that the redcoats had come and taken everything, and now he can't even feed his family.
Hmm. And we
And
finally get some, well, not finally, because I think we saw this part of Dougal whenever Geordie died after the hunt, the
right.
boar.
Mhm.
Um, Dougal's got a softer side,
Yes.
and he's not a bad guy.
No.
Um, so he has some compassion for him, and says that that family will eat tonight. Everybody in this village will eat tonight. And then you'll all join us for a drink. And of course, Claire takes issue with this as they are handing out, the food like the disciples there, and she's like, "You're just doing this so that they'll give you more of they give you,
Yeah.
money."
Yeah, what'd she say? I know what you're doing, but
Mhm.
the more mercy you show today, the more you collect tonight for yourself. Sister, you need to calm down.
Yeah, and he's like, "What is it that you're accusing me of?" Like, he's so calm about it. Like,
Yes, he was so calm about it. And she's like, what'd she say? A penny for the lead? A
for a
pound?
penny for the laird, a pound for your pocket.
There we
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
And then
So
I love what he said. He said, I call it clan business and none of yours. I swear to God, Ned just looked at her like, oh snap.
mhm.
Because I mean that's really the look he gave her. He's like, mm-hmm.
Yeah. And to keep it realistic, somebody needs to tell her that every once in a while.
Yes.
Yeah.
And my note again, when is somebody going to say something? When is somebody going to do something that will shock her into remembering where she is?
Yeah. Yeah.
I just,
Oh, well, it is this night
yes.
when she's sitting and listening. And after weeks of hearing a language, you do start to pick up, words
Right.
just from hearing it.
Right.
You can figure out, infer meaning and stuff.
Hmm.
And she finally is able to piece it together because they keep using a particular name, and she figures out that they're saying, "Long live the Stewart."
Right.
So she's
Flashback.
like, "Oh, okay, yes." And we have to have our history lesson with Frank.
Right.
Let me just insert a small note here. When Misty and I first talked about this,
Hmm.
specifically the first episode, we talked about how they had skipped over. There was so much more in the book
Right.
about what all the time spent at the Reverend Wakefield's home with Frank doing his research and everything, and how there just hadn't been very much of it in the pilot episode, so we didn't know
When
what
it
that
would
was going
come.
to mean because we just didn't have so much of it. Clearly, they're showing us every single week a flashback to something that happens there with the Reverend Wakefield,
Right.
and we get our weekly history lesson with Frank.
About the Jacobite army and how was it the second? This is the second uprising,
I
and
think,
they,
yeah.
they
Yeah.
said there were four, but only the second was the most famous, and
Hmm.
it happened in 1745.
Yeah.
Um, and past that, I did not write anything.
That's okay. No. Yeah, so she figures it out that she's sitting in the middle of some Klansmen raising raising funds for the
To restore,
Jacobite
right,
uprising.
to
Yeah.
restore the Catholic king.
Yeah.
At least that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah. And this as all this information is washing over her, she's starting to have, I think, some kind of sympathy for them all because she knows how this story ends, and
Right.
it's not good. Um, they stand to lose a lot of men,
History is
and
not on their side.
no. And so her mood has turned much more somber, I think. And later that night, and tell me if I skip over anything here,
Okay.
because I just kind of skipped to the next big thing. She is out, and I think this is the one where Jamie finally just takes off his shirt.
Yes.
Yeah,
Which was not sewn at all. It must have been a new shirt. It was lovely.
I know. And like,
Continuity.
how many times you can only sew a shirt back together so many times you start to like lose
That
some.
must have been a new fresh shirt that they got with all the
Yeah,
money that they collected.
maybe
Mm.
so. Yeah. Well, because we have to have one every single episode, we have a fireside chat with Jamie and Claire.
Right. Well, first he was with Dougal, remember? And
Yes.
he's out there talking to him, and he's like telling him that don't you want the king back? And he said he pledged his faith to Colum, not to Dougal. And Dougal said he asked him, do you not want the king back? And he's like he didn't really say anything. And he's like, as long as you're here with me, because he said he just basically he didn't want to be a showpiece, showing
Hmm.
his back every time they go somewhere. And he said his back is my concern. And Dougal told him, not when you travel with me.
Hmm.
I'll do what I want.
Yeah, and I mean, he's got that kind of weight to throw around because he could just as easily give Jamie up.
Right. Or
Um,
even kill him, because they said in, what is it, the first episode, second episode, that he wanted him dead.
yeah, yep. Well, so then we have Jamie and Claire talking to each other, and they have kind of a moment.
Hmm.
Um, and I think that's where you have to kind of take into consideration that they have been on the road together for several weeks. And I I guess you would call it they have a blossoming friendship because he's really the only one who treats her well, other than Ned. Um, he treats her with some respect
Right.
and tries to talk sense into her when she's, trying to do something crazy feminist from, just he
He brings her down.
yeah, they work so well together. He
Right.
compliments her really well. Um, and he just talks to her about how a man, whether or not he's going to continue to go through with this thing that Dougal is doing. And he says a man has to choose what's worth fighting for, and he thinks that she should probably understand that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then the next morning, all of a sudden she sees all these men in a different light, and she doesn't see them as criminals anymore. She sees them as rebels,
Yep.
which I don't know why that made me laugh. It just did. I mean, I
Yeah.
guess it just seems so, I don't
Well,
know.
it's kind of abrupt, but I guess that it's a little hard to believe here that she hadn't figured anything out up until this point, but I guess realizing that if you'd been thinking all along, all they're doing is taking this stuff and pocketing like more than half of it just
Right.
to do with it what they please. To then find out that it's actually going towards something else and knowing what the ends are there, um, I think I can understand why she sees them in a different light. And
Yeah.
she's starting to think, oh, is this the part where they actually talk about, uh, do I have it here yet? I thought I wrote this down. Maybe we're not there yet. Nope, sorry. That's ahead. But she realizes that in all likelihood, a lot of these guys are going to die.
Yes. And it doesn't help that the next scene they show the two men that are, I don't know what you would call those, how they were hung.
Is it a type of a crucifixion? I
I
think
I think it
technically,
technically it is.
yeah, yeah,
Um, but there they are, just left for dead on
yeah.
these, I
On the
don't know what
hillside
you
there.
call 'em, on a hillside, and there's the
Yeah.
black crow. Black crow, never good.
Uh-uh.
Never good. And into their chests, that's it. Was it a T or a cross? I was unsure.
I wasn't really looking that close. I must have been a T because they said it's for traitor. Um,
Right. And I I thought the watch had did it, and it wasn't until they said this is the work of redcoats and not the watch.
Hmm.
And then again, Dougal, being the leader, tells them to take the bodies down, wrap them, and give them a proper Christian burial.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and they said they'd been there about a week, which was odd because they weren't blue or
They were pretty pale, but yeah,
yeah, they
I don't know exactly what a body that's been hanging for a week, looks like. But so, I mean, they're all visibly upset by what they're
right.
seeing, and I think it just kind of lights a fire underneath all of them.
Yes, because the next scene, um, another town, and then you get another talk from Dougal, and this one seems very passionate.
Oh yeah,
There, and I was just like, I love him, and he's. I mean, I'm just like, I was totally mesmerized by that scene. I mean, you had seen him before, but for some reason, this seems so much more like it was a fire burning in him, that it was just so strong and so there was, I don't know, I can't, ooh, I get the shivers just thinking about it.
yeah, yeah.
So
Well, I mean,
good.
they've got if and especially we don't know this, but I sort of inferred that maybe these men were from this village or something,
Mm.
and that would really, yeah,
And
that.
also they had put some music in the background
Hmm.
that really helped it just
Oh, it's
give
the
that extra
theme.
oomph. Was
It's
it the
actually,
theme?
yeah, it's a different version of the theme, and yeah. So we're
It
supposed
was,
to understand this is big. We're
yes.
we're we're
I wrote
using the main theme, so this is a big
I do have
deal.
right here. Oh, the next scene I'm sure you loved.
Oh, okay. And I noticed something on my fifth rewatch. I don't usually watch the episode that many times, but I was sick over the weekend and I
Right.
was lying on the couch and I was flipping through the channels and it was like
Hmm.
2 o'clock in the morning and it was on. I was like, okay, I'll watch it. And I did that a few times. So um, I noticed something today that I
What?
hadn't noticed previously. And
Oh,
it's so
tell
we,
me.
we see Claire.
Right.
They're in some kind of a roadside inn,
In.
and she's probably the only one who's getting to sleep in a room because she's a lady. So she's in this room, lying in bed, and it's
Hmm.
hard to tell, but I think we had already seen her do this once at the river, kind of fiddling with her ring at the river. As she's
Hmm.
lying in bed, she's just like running her finger over her wedding ring.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, that's what's happening. Then she hears a noise.
Uh-oh.
She gets up,
I
opens
oh
her door, and trips over a sleeping Jamie.
she stepped on him. I
Oh,
started laughing so hard. I love that he wanted to make sure, because of all the drunk men that were downstairs, that none of them came up and gave her unwanted, or I'm sorry, undue attention.
yeah. He said he didn't think that she would be interested in these sort of attentions like that. And I mean, he's such a gentleman. Oh my
Right.
goodness, he's. Mm.
But the conversation after that, again, with
Oh,
her,
oh, Claire,
she's
you're so
she's
forward.
she's forgetting where she is again when she says, "I'm sorry I stepped on you. You can't sleep out here. At least come inside. It's warmer." I'm sorry.
Sleep in your room with you?
That was so funny. I
Oh.
couldn't do that. Your reputation would be ruined.
And then she says, "Well, we've slept out under the stars, dozens of nights with 10 other men." And he's like, that's entirely different or something.
It was so funny. You said it so fast. That isn't the same thing.
And he's got his brow is all furrowed. Yeah, this is definitely one of the best scenes of this episode.
And then she offers him the blanket, or is that too scandalous?
She
And
is
then
a mess.
and then we get that that hand touch. Could it be a little bit more? To
Ooh.
me, it was awkward because
Well,
it seemed like it was so long, and so it wasn't like how can I say? It wasn't like a swipe. super like an incidental. It seems so like, here, I put my hand on your hand. Look at what we're doing.
Yeah.
It didn't
This is our
seem,
hands and they're
yeah,
touching.
these are our hands. Look at them.
But it was also fabulous.
Yeah, it was fabulous.
Yeah.
And then he says, I'll be right here.
Mm.
And she just nods at him. Good night.
Somebody I follow on Twitter um, posted a GIF of that.
Of the
And
hand.
of the I'll be right here.
Oh. Uh-huh.
And what their comment with it was something like, if by I'll be right here means you'll sneak in later, okay, cool. Mm. Oh, goodness gracious. And then my next, I take my notes in maybe a strange way, like scene by scene, and I have entitled this next scene, Good Morning, Mr. McTavish.
Because that's what she says to him.
Yeah, Claire walks in, and I think that he saw her walking down the stairs, and I think that's why he got up and like started to leave, because I think maybe he felt a little
odd.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, she looks like the cat who ate the canary, does she not?
Yeah.
I mean, sister, could you be a little bit
think
more
she
obvious
likes him.
that you have a little hotty-toddy going on right now? Because the look was like, if looks could kill, he would have been dead last night. I mean, she was. I'm surprised. The only thing she didn't do was look him up and down.
I know. I mean, that was a very special way of saying good morning.
Yes.
And just saying good morning, like it just being words. He says that the horses need their breakfast, so he's on his way out.
Well, he also calls her mistress. Good morning, mistress.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Instead of saying her name, which I found a little funny.
Yeah, I wonder how often. I haven't even paid that much attention to how often he actually says her name, but we can tell by the glances.
Yes, you can tell.
The townsmen are talking about Claire, because she's the only. Well, she's not the only woman in the place, but.
Well, they also seem to like not have a lot to say until she showed up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they got a little noisy, had some robust conversation.
Yeah. And Claire's talking to Ned, just totally oblivious to whatever's going on around her.
Right. They're over there talking, and she's having this conversation with Ned. Why did you let me think that they were thieves? And, Ned is, what made you think otherwise?
Mm-hmm.
Which I thought was funny. And it's funny how she says, well, the speech the other night, and he says, I thought you didn't know any, how do you say it? Gallic. And she said she picked up enough to know what they were talking about, or what Long Live the Stewart sounds like. And he said, then you picked up more than you should.
Mm-hmm.
Which I thought was kind of funny.
And
true, because, I mean, the less you know, the less culpable you are.
Yep. Just act like you don't know anything. Didn't hear anything.
You don't know anything.
Mm-mm. And then, in the middle of everything, Angus starts smashing skulls, like just slamming them down on the table. Angus, who, let's remember, throughout this episode, he's pulled a knife on Claire.
Yes.
He has snapped at her.
Yes.
He's dragged her out of that room with all those village
all those women.
Yeah.
He's been having a bad episode.
Yeah, he's been kind of angry.
Yeah.
And just to signal to us that this is indeed a fight, bagpipes start playing. And Claire's like, here we go. And she's just so nonchalant about it, just like, again. Yeah. And totally annoyed by the fact that they're, knocking heads around.
Any reason to fight.
Yeah.
I love that. I love the whole numbers that she gives at the end. 3 split lips, 2 bloody noses, 12 smashed knuckles, 4 loosened teeth, and then one of them says, and my ribs hurt a bit.
Yeah. Yeah. And then they tell her, you were the excuse, or she says, you'll take any excuse to fight. And they say, you were the excuse. It was your honor we were defending.
Right.
Aww.
That was so sweet. But it's so funny what they said after that because
Mhm.
you're the guest of the Mackenzie. We can insult you, but God help any other man that does.
Yes.
Which
And
which makes it seem like they're family now.
exactly. That's how you treat family. You can
That's
say whatever you
exactly how
want
you
to
treat
about your
family.
family.
Exactly. But you don't say, once you say it outside the family and somebody else insults you,
Uh-huh.
Lord help you.
Yeah. You don't get to
But
do that.
exactly. But before that, I was annoyed with her when she was talking to Ned.
Hmm.
Um, and she's telling him that history is not on their side and maybe you need to rethink this. And he said, she's like, it's a fact. You have to believe me. And I'm thinking, are you trying to change history right now? Because that's what you're doing by telling him these things. That, oh my. And then Ned said, history be damned. And I was like, stop talking.
This is
Stop
how you mess up
talking.
things. This is how people disappear from pictures.
Exactly. Oh, that was, oh my gosh.
Oh, I know. It is annoying. Now, after all of that, after she's dressed all their wounds and they're
Hmm.
outside and they're getting ready to go,
And we're getting
um,
more man stories.
more man stories. Who is it over there? Rupert. It's Rupert. Okay. Rupert is over there telling a story
Oh my God.
about how he had one lady on one side of him
Uh-huh.
and one lady on the other side of
Uh-huh.
him, and they were both arguing over who
Who
was
is
going to be first.
right? Who's gonna get all that man first?
And Claire, I'll let you take this one, Ollie.
She says, I guess he was like, do you believe me, right? And she says, I believe your left hand gets jealous of your right.
And that's about all I believe.
And they all look around, and then for the longest time, I was like, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen?
Uh-huh.
And then they all bust out laughing.
Yeah, and he laughs the loudest and longest, and then he says, "I've never heard a woman make a joke." Like, well, that maybe that's true. Because they're also busy
In the
peeing in
kitchen.
a bucket and making the world work while you fight and regale everyone with tales of a woman on one side and a woman on the other. Um, yeah, they don't have time to be funny.
They don't have time to be funny. But you know what? That I don't know why, but at this point in the story, I don't know why it hit me. But how is she getting dressed? She had
Under you can,
she had
getting dressed like under a blanket,
no no
probably.
no no no. That's not what I meant. What I meant is they have on it's a different name, but it's a corset.
Uh-huh.
Who is helping her on with that corset?
Maybe she's not taking it off.
That's true because in the bed scene, in when they're showing her at
Yeah.
night, she's still wearing that full. I was surprised she wasn't just wearing the whole white, like little, like gown.
Hmm.
I mean,
I
I've
think
looked
she's
it
probably
up.
just wearing whatever kind of shift it is that she has on underneath.
Yeah,
I don't even want to think about the
that
logistics of
can you
managing your
imagine?
underclothes.
Can you?
No,
The layers.
no.
But that's the first thing I thought is how I don't know why it hit me at that point is like how is she getting dressed? Because I guess it was because all those guys were like helping each other and they were all dressed and I just looked at her and I'm thinking of again, girl, you look good for being on the road.
Yeah. Oh, this is the morning when her hair is like fabulous, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And wow, girl, who is helping you with that look?
Uh-huh.
Tell us who
Yeah.
tell us who you're wearing.
Yeah.
But I, I just, how is she getting dressed?
Yeah.
It just dawned on me at that moment. I don't know why.
Well, now we get to something kind of serious. Well, after Jamie says, "Oh, excuse me, just one moment, okay? Claire, 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 get out of the chair. Thank you. Sorry, that was the dog." Um, Jamie. Says, well, you're a witty one, aren't you?
You're a witty one.
Yeah. She's
She's
everything you want in a woman. You just don't
snappy,
know it yet.
snappy, quick
Um,
wit.
so then he mentions that they're, however, like a day's something like that
Right,
from Culloden.
right. And
And cue flashback.
cue flashback. I,
Uh,
I don't mind seeing Frank. I actually like him.
it's
I
I think it is sort of important just to keep you have to keep reminding the audience because otherwise I think it makes it less important that or less traumatic that she's away from him and that,
mm,
she's just back here. And because you don't want it to seem like she's just landed here and has totally forgotten about him because
right.
she hasn't.
Well, it also shows the dynamics of their relationship too. The
Hmm.
way they talk to each other, the way they interact with each other. I mean, just the things, the little snarkiness, when what did he say? When she was over there, hadn't you learned more from your uncle or something like
Yeah,
that?
yeah. What did you do in the desert? Yeah.
Yes. And but I liked that whole I like seeing him. I not necessarily his character,
Hmm.
but uh the actor.
The
I
actor
I
is
can't
really good.
he,
Yeah,
he he's a when he doesn't have his hair like that, he's a very good looking man.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I don't remember his name, but yeah. But then you get that flashback of a history lesson with the pastor again.
Uh, is it with the pastor or is it when I thought they
Mm.
were just standing on the moor?
No, no.
Okay.
They're in the church again and they're looking through the books, but it's the pastor's there. He talks. He only has a couple of lines, but they're talking mainly between themselves, and
Hmm.
he's describing to them. Oh no, he. That's right. They are out. They are outside.
Yeah, yeah, because
You're
she's
right.
she's remembering walking out there on the moor
Right.
and Frank is telling her how the battle happened,
It
how
was
it was
over
over
an hour.
yeah, an
Within an
hour.
hour, and 2,000 people or 2,000 the uh, from the Highland Army
Hmm.
were killed, and how bloody it was, and because of the flat land, it happened very quickly, and it was very bloody. And you see her looking at the memorial, and she realizes that this is 3 years in their future.
Hmm.
That
She's
and
standing and she stands well. There is the big memorial, and then she
mhm,
sees the
the
Clan Mackenzie stone.
yeah, and she's thinking to herself, how many of the men that I'm with and how many that I know will die,
Hmm.
which is, oh, just thinking
Yeah,
about it.
and it's pretty spooky because um, I'm not going to say that she has foreknowledge necessarily, but it's almost like like I think I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but like there's certain times where I think you can experience something and have some sort of feeling that this is going to matter.
Right.
And I think maybe without understanding that we get a picture of that maybe being true for her. Um, it's like when somebody walks on your grave or something,
Right.
whatever they say about that. Um, yeah, so she's
That was
really concerned about who is she going to lose.
well, and then the other thing is, how do you say something? I think that's she kind of is stuck there. I mean, you want to say something, but are they going to believe you? Hey, crazy lady.
Hmm.
Yes, I'm from the future. Hey,
Yeah,
lock her up in the institution.
yeah.
But again, if you say something, then you edit the future. So,
It depends on what your view of time travel is. Do you create a paradox?
right.
Can you change the future? Is the fact that you're back in the past, does that make your existence there part of what created the future in the first place? All these questions. And we're down by the river again. This
In a
time,
van down by the river.
yeah, Claire is going down to wash down by the river, and shortly after, Dougal follows her.
Yes.
And I think is the first thing he says, "Who are you?
Yes.
Who are you?"
Who are you? And he says, you want us to believe something about you're a lady from Oxfordshire. Or,
Hmm.
hello, I can't announce things. Um, and he says that, but really she's a lady with strong political views. And she's trying, he said she's sowing the seeds of doubt in what they're doing and trying to undermine his cause. And she's like, I'm trying to warn you. I'm trying to, and he's like, warn me about what? And she's like, I'm trying to save your life again with the attitude.
Yeah.
If
Well,
you're,
did you get the feeling? This is maybe it's just me. Whenever he first asked her who she was,
hmm,
who are you, and starts saying all this stuff about what he's thinking about what she is and what she's doing, I got the feeling that he really suspected or knows something more than what we know that he
right,
knows. And I don't know
that
what that is.
like he believes, he wants to believe what she's saying, but everything when you put all the pieces together is not making sense. So please explain to me. I
Hmm.
think I know what's going on. I kind of get a hint of what's going on, but it's not making sense, so I need you to explain it to me.
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
But before any of that can happen,
Uh-oh.
the Englishman returns.
Dun da da dun.
We find out his name is Jeremy Foster.
Lieutenant Jeremy Foster of Her Majesty's Army.
Hmm. And he continues to ask her several different variations of, "Are you here by your own choice?"
Right. Yes. And
And mm,
of course, Dougal,
mhm,
the lady is none of your concern.
mhm.
Oh, I love that. He's like, yes. Um, what did he say?
Well, he told him that he was the war chieftain of Clan Mackenzie,
Right.
and
Gives him
basically
all
I'm
his
in charge of
specs.
the ground that you're standing on, and yeah,
And then the lieutenant says, Mackenzie or not, if you're holding this lady against her wishes, you'll be dealt with. Oh,
yeah,
oh, sorry.
hmm
Okay, sorry. And then they both are looking at Claire, and I mean, what do you do? In her mind, it's got to be, I want to escape,
like
so I
how do I
want to
get
go
back?
with
What do I
him,
do?
but I don't want to get Dougal in trouble because I know what they will do to him or anyone else with them. This is bad.
Especially Jamie, because if
Yes,
they take their party, then they'll have Jamie, that's exactly who they want.
exactly.
Um,
And then what happens?
for the first time, I believe, so far in the series, it ends not on Claire's voiceover, but on this Jeremy Foster
Mm-hmm.
asking, "Are you here by your own choice?"
Yes. Tell me, madam, are you here by your own choice?
Uh-huh.
And then credits.
Who?
Where's the preview?
Ye-
I, okay, when I watch Asian dramas, and I watched a lot, they
Mhm.
always show a preview for next
Oh,
week.
have you not seen the preview?
I did. I saw both
Okay.
of them.
Okay.
There's two. I saw them both.
Okay, I think I've only watched one so far.
There's
So go
there's
ahead, tell us if you don't want to know what's coming next week, which is actually tomorrow.
so excited.
Yeah.
I can't
Um,
wait.
then turn this off. But if you don't mind hearing what was just in a preview, which is not spoilery really, but go
True.
ahead, Ollie. You tell
So
us.
Claire is taken to I'm gonna guess it's a headquarters or a
I'm gonna guess it's
headquarters
Fort
day.
William.
Right. And she gets to meet and is interrogated by Captain Jack Randall. Oh my.
Mm.
And he is not going to let her go until he hears what she has to say, even if she doesn't want to say it.
We know
That
this is a very bad man.
yeah, that preview is so good. I really am excited for this next episode. The tension, and I mean, and then we see Jamie. Uh-uh.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
he is getting the tar whipped out of his back.
And then Dougal saying, "Do you want to start a war right here, right now?"
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the, this is going to be high tension. We might need a couple of bottles of wine to relax from all the stress that we're going to be going through, and perhaps screaming and yelling at the scene or the
Oh.
screen. Because I picture myself, I might have to make like a whole bunch of paper balls that I
Mm.
can throw at the screen while I'm watching it. Boo, because it seems like it's going to be really.
Ollie, I am so excited for this episode. Yeah, for all the reasons that you say. Yes, break out the Rhenish because you may need it. Um,
I can't drink it right now. I'm so mad.
um, but because of everything, I think it's kind of getting ready to set up. I think that all of this, because while this episode we just watched, it was
Hmm.
really intense. A lot
Yes.
we learned a lot of stuff, but I
Yes.
think that the action that's coming up is going to set us up for a lot more drama. Mm.
I just it seems so high strung. I'm just thinking about it. I'm getting anxious. Just I can imagine as I'm watching it how anxious I will be.
Mm. It's so exciting. Well, we've reached the end, and we talked for a really long time.
We made it through and I didn't swear. I'm so proud of myself.
Oh, it's too bad. I had promised people things here. Um, but it was great, and I agreeing to do this with me. It was a treat.
Thank
We've
you for
only ever
having me.
talked to Downton Abbey before, and that was just briefly.
Yes.
Remember you called in for our live show that one time?
Yay. Oh, I
Hmm.
did. What a
Yeah.
weirdo.
Weirdo. That was the one where we burned Matthew.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm, poor.
So we're really excited. Well, I think I'll be back next week with Misty, who has a lovely little baby now,
Hope she's.
and
I want to say I hope she's getting some rest, but that's not happening.
well, yeah, I know. And because she's not here, I'll go ahead and plug her blog again. Because you can read her about her first week with a newborn and about
Oh.
her. She wrote out her really long birth story.
Oh my
Um,
goodness.
yeah, it's like 65,000. No, not 65,000. It's like 6,500 words.
How long was she in labor?
A long time.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm
It's
lucky I've never had that problem.
well. So her blog is oceanicwilderness.com. I'm pretty sure it's .com. I hope it's .com. Um,
Oceanicwilderness.com.
yeah, so go
Oh,
read
it's a
that.
good name. I like
Hmm.
that.
And of course, I blog at elizabethmichelle.com. Ollie doesn't blog or
I
isn't on
do.
Twitter because Ollie is a loser.
Loser, loser, double loser.
But maybe you should tweet at PS Petticoats with
Mm.
possible names for Ollie's Twitter account.
Crazy
I've got a
lady.
dirty one for you.
Crazy
I
lady.
don't think I'm going to say it, but
Don't say it.
I'll wait until later. Um,
Mrs.
okay.
Mrs. Kim Nam Gill.
No, it's more along the lines of like O'Brien's bangs, but it's something else from this episode.
Jamie's kilt.
No, I
Oh,
think that
oh,
probably already exists.
probably.
Yeah. All right. It was so much fun talking
It
with you.
was fun.
Okay.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and follow all of our stuff. We're on Facebook at Picture Shows and Petticoats on there. We're PS Petticoats on Twitter, and if you want to check
And
out
what
when
about
we
YouTube? Well,
what
of course, people are already
yeah
on.
we're on YouTube, but I usually I always post the episodes on it's at Elizabeth-Michelle /PSP. So that's
That's
where
all.
everything goes. That's our blog. Anyway, we will see you again next week when we will have even more exciting things to talk about. So, all right. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
We will go, I and you. and away in the woods we will scatter the dew, and the salmon behold, and the ouzel too. My love, we will hear, I and you, we will hear the calling afar of the doe and the deer, and the birds in the branches will cry for us clear, and the cuckoo unseen in his festival mood, and death, oh my fair one, will never come near. In the bosom afar of the fragrant wood, in the bosom afar of the fragrant wood.